I think slowly and steadily, all of us, including Nexus, we have been now curating or cutting down on the fashion category, which used to be above 50% or 60%.
Oh, really? Oh, cutting down.
And
Okay.
are reallocating the space for all the things that I just talked about. So far
Mhm.
more beauty, far more athleisure, far more footwear, far more FECs.
Hello and welcome to India Retail Network, a weekly podcast series where we invite industry leaders and experts to help us decode and unpack the opportunities and complexities of India's vibrant yet complex retail market. And today I have Jayen Naik with me. Jayen is the president for operations at Nexus Select Trust, India's first publicly listed retail real estate investment trust. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Jayen.
The pleasure is all mine, Rasool, and it is indeed always a delight to talk to you as usual.
Thank you very much. Nexus Select Trust, you operate 19 malls in 15 cities. You're the largest mall operator in India right now. And in a way, you are a reflection on India's consumption story, right? At least the discretionary part. I would like to know, how is the consumption story panning out over the years?
I think, Rasool, when we go back into the genesis of Nexus also, and when Blackstone kind of decided to go into the mall space, the whole this thing was based on the fact that the India consumption story was strong. And back in 2015, when they acquired the first malls, that is Alpha One, Ahmedabad and Amritsar, even then the indications were very strong, as they are today. In fact, they have grown stronger. See, there are three basic things that I think fuel consumption in India and are going to keep on increasing. One, India is a young country. Everybody talks about the fact that almost 50% of the population is below the age of 25. So effectively, you got a large population which is now going to consume more. The second, I think, is the fact that in the recent years, India has also been working on skilling themselves. So the IT boom or the kind of new opportunities that are now coming up across not just India, but across the world, has put Indians on the map. And I think Indians are now gaining more and more in terms of skills. And because of skills, I think they are also earning much better than what they used to do in the past. So the disposable income of Indians has also grown up. So, it's one thing to talk about the Indian economy now being the fourth largest and hopefully going to become the third largest in short period of time. But I think if you look at Indians across the globe, then I think they have done really well for themselves. That's the second part. And the third, obviously, is being the, call it internet boom, call it Gen Z, call it millennial, call it whatever. The awareness of brands, the awareness of new products, the awareness of new experiences, or even awareness of new places to travel, everything, or new cuisines too. Who would have thought that India would be, talking of Korean cuisines ever?
Yeah, that's a big thing now, right?
And today, everybody is talking of K-dramas or everybody is talking of Korean cuisines. I've heard in my own school and college days, you would have hardly ever learned about South Korea and North Korea. Not even known about it. But today, I think experimentation that is there by Indian youth is to the next level. And I think that all these three put together, the indications are all there. If you just look at the GDP growth also, this last quarter also, I think was at 7.8%, much higher than anticipated. So I think despite whatever might be international headwinds or issues that are there with geopolitical issues that might be there, I think India consumption story is strong. And we, I believe, have aided that and in fact also been at the forefront of that, as you pointed out.
Okay. And you mentioned about the stronger consumption, the indications and all those. What I would like to ask you is the consumption story is evolving. What are the trends you are picking? What are interesting trends you have seen? Premiumization is one.
Premiumization is an off term that has been misused, less heard of. See, when you talk of premiumization, when you go to let's say a tier 3 town, a lifestyle is also a premium brand in tier 3 town.
They are also upgrading. Right.
They are also upgrading. So it is not in a way, when you look at India is a wide country. When you talk of premiumization, it's across the board. It's not just not in metro towns. It's across tier 2, tier 3 towns also. The other trends that we are noticing is, I guess, after COVID, specifically after COVID, the growth in categories like beauty has been a revelation. Suddenly you see beauty doing much better than it was. In fact, it's been now seen also almost all the major companies are coming in with their own beauty brands. Reliance bringing in Tira, or SS Beauty from the Shoppers Stop table, or Tata Click from Tata's. The Sephoras were always there. The things were always there. They are now growing in athleisure wear. And this is one category that I think has been at the forefront. Suddenly, Indians are now far more physically oriented also, or rather sports oriented than they used to be. So the whole concept of, sneakers, call it shoes, call it athleisure wear, call it jackets, or the entire trend of new kind of t-shirts or new kind of sweatshirts and all that. That is something that is really fueling consumption as we speak. I mean, go back, Rasool, I remember that in my school days, I only had two pairs of shoes. One was a black and one was a white canvas shoe. And today, I think it's not just the ladies, but it is even gents who have got a whole wardrobe of shoes, so that again is a part of consumption story. Right. Jewelry again has been strong, Rasool, despite the fact that the prices of gold have been going up. Jewelry has been doing very well, primarily because I think it's not just the fact that it is a kind of a statement for fashion, but it's more so about investment also. I think more and more people are now realizing that jewelry is a part of investment also that they can do for the future, because the kind of growth that has been shown there. Besides that, I think F&B experiences, I'm sure that you now realize, go to Bangalore and the kind of
the pub culture, the eating out,
culture. Right. You have pub culture, but the kind of microbreweries or the kind of spaces that you see, these are almost lakh square feet spaces, and they are packed. Who would have thought that F&B experiences can be of this kind? So I think that is another major movement that is there across. Besides, of course, the birth of fast fashion. I mean, it's not just fast fashion as in the Zaras of the day or the H&Ms of the day, but I think Indian brands themselves are now, call it Zudio, or call it Style Union, or call it Style Up, or call it even Max, or call it whatever. I think the fast fashion industry is now here to stay and grow. So, and the spectrum can be wide, but the basic concept is same, that you deliver new designs and new styles every maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then keep on changing. And it's available at affordable price. So I think that is one section that has really attracted people. And you see more and more people also, kind of going in for that. So these are broad trends that were there, a little different from what it used to be in the past. One more, Rasool, one interesting is the evolution of FECs and experience centers. So it is no more arcade games that you used to pay in the past and all that. Now the FECs are more about experience in terms of adventure, in terms of VR, in terms of you name it. I mean, the whole concept has changed.
Like, they occupy larger space now, right?
Larger space now. People don't come in single. People come in groups. I mean, it's like office groups coming in and enjoying a gunfight or a virtual gun battle or a treasure hunt or something of that sort on a VR platform. I mean, that's the kind of experiences people are now going in for.
Right. So, Jayen, you talked about beauty, athleisure, jewelry, FEC. What used to happen, like, some years ago, 5-10 years ago, the kind of malls which you operate were mostly dominated by fashion brands, right? 70-80% used to be fashion, single brand, whatever. Now, the composition is changing. You are making more space for beauty, athleisure, and you want to talk about that?
So, Rasool, I think we are just a natural reflection of what the consumer demands. And obviously, like you pointed out, malls were always heavy on hypermarkets, if you remember in the past.
Yeah,
a lot of space was there in hypermarkets. And you used to be very fashion heavy. So you got a lot of large departmental stores, and then obviously, I think slowly and steadily, all of us, and including Nexus, and we have been now curating or cutting down on the fashion category, which used to be above 50% or 60%.
Oh, really? Oh, cutting down.
And are reallocating the space for all the things that I just talked about. So far more beauty, far more athleisure, far more footwear, far more FECs. For example, now in our own malls, after we acquired, let's say, the Prestige portfolio down south, and we had large spas, and spas used to do very well at that point of time. But now, after COVID and all that, hypermarket has lost its sheen, and Q-commerce has taken a big leap, specifically in metro towns. So we talked to them, and we actually resized these large spaces, brought in digital electronics, which has always done very well, and is still growing at a good pace. And we brought in fast fashion that I just talked about. New brands in fast fashion now. Not only was the space better utilized, but for us, it meant much better yield from that very space. And the beauty of it is, the original hypermarket did not lose in terms of absolute value sale. They were doing far more productive sales from the same space than they used
Right.
to do in the
The
past.
yield have gone up.
The
Right.
yield has
Yeah.
gone up. So the
Mm-hmm.
whole concept of now trying to maximize the trading density, because obviously like they say, GLA is GLA. It's not going to increase. You are not going to
Yeah.
be able to increase GLA.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All you can do is to improve the efficiency of that particular area that you have. And these are ways and means which we have done, and I think it has really worked very well for us. Not only it gives new brand for the customer to come in, it gives a new category for the customer to, which is more relevant for them,
Right.
and it increases the entire efficacy for the mall in terms of the revenue and the sales consumption that it is able to deliver in the long. Win-win for all. It's not nobody loses in that aspect.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
So
Jayen, you have a very eclectic mix of malls, like some of the really big names in India. Like, if you have to list out 5 names, your 5 top malls, like I'm sure Select and Elante are going to be there. What would be your list?
So Rasool, it's like asking a parent of selecting which kid they like best. So
Right. Which is your
see,
favorite son? Right.
that's very difficult to say and very difficult to say. But let me say that we can classify. For me, all the malls have done really well. And there are malls which are iconic in terms of, let's say, Select City Walk or Elante or Nexus Forum Hyderabad, that used to be now Nexus Hyderabad.
Right.
Or
Right.
Nexus Vijaya that is now there, or the Bangalore Nexus Puramangala, which was the first mall of the country.
Yeah.
So you can always say that these are large malls, or our own flagship Nexus Seawoods, which was 1 million square feet, first
Yeah.
transit-oriented mall, and has done really well. In fact, revolutionized. Or the malls that were there in tier 2 cities, which we first acquired and are primary, like for example, Ahmedabad 1, which actually redefined retail in Gujarat.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the ones that we love most are malls like Esplanade in Bhubaneswar, malls like Nexus Amritsar in Amritsar, or a mall like Center City in Mysore. Because these malls have actually revolutionized retail in that city. I mean, they have contributed to far greater appeal. And who would have thought, that the top post brands will come in Bhubaneswar and line up to be there. Or
Yeah.
you'll have a trading density in excess of 3,000 in a city like Bhubaneswar.
Yeah.
Now that's the kind of thing that these malls have delivered. So it's for us. I mean, when you take it relatively, obviously they'll never reach the consumption of, let's say, a Select City or Elante or anything. But in their own way, they have really redefined, consumption story or the mall culture, or the way in which now malls are perceived by tier 3 and tier 2 towns. And
Right.
for us, I think that's been a very, very good learning also. And that's been a very, very satisfying journey for us also. Because we believe that we have not just, majority of the people have malls in metro towns and have done very well there. But we believe that we are actually working on the grassroots and delivering right from tier 2 towns.
You have 19 malls in 15 cities. I know positioning would not be uniformity. Like, what are the major kind of positioning for your malls? Like, some of the high-end malls are bridge to luxury, some are premium. How do you classify your?
So I think, Rasool, I think there is a lot of clarity in terms of the particular mall is located, what are the target audience that it is going to serve. So for example, when we look at Select City Walk, then for us, it's the mall that actually is the first port of call for any international brand.
Yeah.
So effectively, it is positioned as the first port of call for any international. And we are just taking it further. So
Yeah,
it's not
be it
just
Zara or Apple or whosoever, right? Yeah.
or now Foot Locker or for NARS
COS,
or whatever that is going to come in the future.
Right.
But these are brands that have come in first time in India, and they are there at Select City Walk. The similar kind of positioning or a little on the edges for our other big malls, like for example Hyderabad or Elante or even Koramangala, where we believe that the first cut malls in that region or the first cut in that particular zone comes into that particular mall. So it is gradually going, you can call it going from premium to bridge to luxury, perhaps luxury tomorrow. But then that's a journey that I think every mall will take. It's not just that it will be one mall, but I think every mall will take its own journey.
Right.
And like I said, the whole concept of premiumization is misunderstood in the fact that it's not just the Zara or maybe bringing in Massimo Dutti or bringing in a cost might be going towards premiumization. Like I said, bringing in H&M in Bangalore for us is premiumization. It's a city where perhaps that kind of brand would not have ever gone. But primarily because of us, and our relation with that retailer, it has gone there and it has done really well. So that's the kind of movement that we believe that we are doing. And I think we'll continue doing that. Obviously, there will be certain, when you call positioning is also dynamic. What is true today may not be true 5 years down the line.
Yeah, it's ever changing, right? Yeah.
It's ever changed. So I may say that it is what we always believe, and I think our CEO has very articulated it very well, that we must remain relevant to the target customer on a continual basis.
Right.
And it means that if we have to redefine brand mix, we do so. If we have to redefine the way in which we serve the customer, we have to do so. If we redefine the way in which we have to communicate to the customer, then we have to do so. So I think it's a composite feature of all these three continuously evolving. It's not just one part of it.
Jayen, you mentioned about how Select City Walk in Delhi is the first port of call for a lot of international brands to make debut in India. I remember Zara was there, H&M was there, even COS is coming for the first time through your mall. Apple opened its first store in Delhi. For the benefit of our audience, would you elaborate why Select is such a magnet for global brands?
I think it's something that happens, and I think it has been built by the people who started it and have, curated it for so long. And we've just about taken it from there. So I guess at the forefront, the Select Group, when they actually built this mall, and you remember, it's in middle of two other malls. So it is not that it was a singular mall at that point of time. But from the very beginning, I think, remember that they understood the fact that customer of India and specifically of Delhi, he's well-traveled, he's aware of foreign brands, has the capacity and capability to spend money. And they made the effort to give them international class infrastructure, the international class service. You look at the parking. You walk into a Select City Walk parking, today also it is sparkling. And you go into any other parking, you'll see the difference in that.
Yeah, it's there.
Or you go to the way in which the floors are and they're polished, clean, the entire infrastructure is kept, not just the front end, but the back end. You go to the food court and you go to the back areas and they realize the whole concept of, hygiene even at that point in time. So they read the basics right. Plus the fact that they always experimented with the brand. And what I talked about, those three things, that you have to continuously evolve in order to remain relevant for the customers. The best thing that they realized, this is a mall that has been there for maybe 18 years or 17, 18 years now in the running. But you've seen that it has continuously evolved in terms of the brand that it has got, in terms of the way in which communication. Today, I think it's at the forefront of digital marketing. Or for the fact that we redid the plaza after acquiring it. So that now a lot more interactive events can be held in the plaza, which was at one point of time, just about a place for them to go and sit and enjoy. When you keep on evolving and when you keep on doing something which is more relevant, I think then the whole concept of it being at the forefront or it remaining at the cutting edge of delivering the experience that a customer demands. I think that is what has been, the defining feature as far as Select is concerned. It's a combination of factors. I wouldn't say that it was one thing, but I think the good thing that they understood was, and the owners back then, the people who worked then, now that we have acquired it in the last, after the REIT in 2023, we have ensured that we continuously keep on innovating. That's the word I think that we should use. Innovating in terms of brands, innovating in terms of experiences. I mean, it's the first place where you see influencers that have been called, and there's a whole influencer community that came in years back when nobody had even heard of what influencers were.
When we started, Big Bazaar used to be an anchor tenant. And then Shopper Stops of the world used to be the anchor tenant. Then they were replaced by Zara's and H&M's of the world. Is the concept of anchor tenants still relevant in large malls like yours? If so, what are the anchor tenants now?
Rasool, I think the concept of anchor tenant will still remain valid across the spectrum. So when I talk about anchor tenants, then a good department store will still hold its relevance even in the future, because it has got that appeal. I would say that an anchor tenant, the redefinition is in terms of the size that is there. In past, the anchor tenant used to be maybe 1 lakh square feet or maybe 50,000 square feet or 60,000 square feet. That may be redefined. But the whole concept of the ability to pull in customers. For example, even cinema. I mean, a lot of people have written off cinema. I don't think we are writing off cinema. I think cinema is also one large way in which we will definitely be able to pull in people again and again. The technology might change. The content might be now more curated. The content may be more customer friendly, or the experiences with food and other things may be even more evolved in a cinema. But cinema is definitely going to be there in the future also. So I don't think that it's a thing that we write off. What we are saying is that we have to redefine the way in which it is now engaging the customer. Gone are the days when you just had one particular content coming in and it just used to a houseful and goes back. Now, perhaps there are a lot of innovations wherein people are coming back and saying that, okay, just like on OTT, you can have a group of 25 people and you can select the movie that you want to see and enjoy it. And that can happen in a director class.
It's also a customized thing, right? Yeah.
It's a customized thing. And the experience of watching it on large screen, something that you like, something with the people that you like, it cannot be matched home environment or even the biggest TV that you have. So I think the anchors that we are talking about, whether it's department stores, whether it's cinema, whether it's FECs like I talked about, or whether it's the food courts of the world that are always going to be there, always going to be there for us. They are going to remain. The way in which their sizing is, the way in which their curation is, and the way in which they are now getting more brands into it might differ. And I think that is where the change will come in. It's not so much writing off, anchors as we call them. So
right.
I think that, and perhaps you see today that fast fashion, new kinds of anchors are coming. Who would have called Zudio an anchor back in 10 years back? But today Zudio might be an anchor for many of the malls that are there in tier 2, tier 3 towns, or even in metro towns.
So things are changing. Jayen, you talked about GDP was more than 7% in the last quarter. Is it reflecting into the consumption story? The reason I'm asking is I keep talking to retailers and everyone. They say there has been a persistent slowdown for the last 2 years.
Rasul, I think that has been, and we have answered this again and again. After 2022, when the years 23, 23, 24 grew, we grew by an astronomical. It was almost like an exponential jump.
No, that was a revenge thing, right?
There was a revenge shopping. There was a thing, and everybody.
But has it come to the level of pre-COVID, the growth which we were looking at?
Much more. I mean, you talk to any company, they are always higher than the pre-COVID numbers that are today. So when I go back, remember there was always a growth of 7 to 8% or 9% on a year-on basis. If you look at companies past also, the CAGR was around 9 to 10% in India. Now we had an abnormal growth in post-COVID year as was. And obviously the benchmark or the base was so high that it had to kind of, even out. So what they talk about slow or whatever, a little sluggish consumption now, but you're talking of a large base, a base that has outgrown whatever we did before COVID. So,
right.
And now this year again, I'm sure that each one of them, you look at after the GST announcement, I mean, everybody is talking about.
Will it translate into consumption in the later part of this year?
Hopefully, I think it should, because there are two basic things that should come together. One, obviously, the government's IT rebate that was there for the middle class, call it middle class, or call it the consumption class that is there. And now the GST reforms wherein they have rationalized the cost, and specifically of electronics and specifically of even building material and all that, which means that we believe that there will be a lot more consumption even in terms of realty, and that will also aid consumption for us in terms of electronics, in terms of home decor, in terms of everything that is there allied to that. So we do look at it as a positive feature. How much of it is converted? I mean, both of us are there. I think this Diwali will be a showcase, but I guess like we have always believed that in the long run, we are still looking at a very good growth on a year-on-year basis. And if we look at a CAGR of that, then I think a year might be a little slower, but over a period of, let's say, 5-year trend, I think 5-year trend will always be much higher than whatever the world has done, and India will always be at the forefront. Of that, we are confident.
Okay, on this note, I don't have time. I'm running out of time, Jayen. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Not a pleasure talking to you, to Rasul, and invite you to visit our malls, I think, sooner than later.
Definitely, I keep doing that. Thank you very much.